I'm grounds manager of the Woodland Playing Field Trust, and we constructed this new site 9 years ago. Unfortunately, for the first time this year, we've actually had to cancel games through the surface ponding, when in the past, whenever we've had rain, however much, the water's always gone through the surface within 5 or 10 minutes. This is the carpet as it is just before we start rejuvenation. It's very, very hard, there's moisture in it, and there's a little bit of moss and algae that's being formed because it's so wet.
The tire gauge is used to determine how much height is left in the fibre, because replay rejuvenation is a process that we will only introduce if there's enough fibre life left for the facility to benefit from rejuvenation taking place. The Fieldman is a device that we have in this country. It's one of a kind at this point for us, for replay. And one of the testing methods is deformation. Deformation will test how far the surface deforms when the weight hits that surface. The lower that reading, the less it's deforming. And then once rejuvenation has taken place, we can then compare those two readings empirically and say that rejuvenation has given you back, on a deformation reading, this life. Replay rejuvenation is an air process, compressed air. So compressed air is fed from a compressor, 400 cubic feet of air, 170 of pressure, into our machine, which is called a beaver. The air is fed through the beaver into the surface, hits the carpet, and acts in essence cyclonically. So the air hits the carpet, and on its return journey carries out the contaminated infill. That contaminated infill is carried through horizontal augers and a vertical auger out into a receptacle. In this instance it's a dumper, which empties the carpet of the contamination that is the cause of many of the problems that this surface is experiencing. It becomes slippery, ball, roll and bounce are unpredictable, and eventually the water will only hold on the surface and not drain as designed. A byproduct of our process of the replay rejuvenation is that the carpet is allowed to stand back upright, and that's very important because it can wear from the tip down as designed. The contaminated infill is carried out. You'll have noticed on this site that some of that infill is left as a film behind. That's because we're taking out as much of the contaminated layer as we can, of which there's quite a lot here. It's a wet day, and obviously wet sand, wet polypropylene fibre means that the sand will stick, and so a second process is introduced to carry away that second layer.
As you can see when you compare this with the piece that hasn't been rejuvenated, most of the sand's been taken out of this at the moment, but it's so much softer. I mean, we've still got to add the sand to this later on, but at the moment this is so much softer, and I can imagine the water's going to go straight through this compared with what we've had in the past.
The final process of the replay rejuvenation is replacement of extracted sand. So fresh sand, newly imported, is placed into the sandmaster. The sandmaster is driven around the surface, allowing via a belt-driven device the sand to drift with the front-mounted brush into the synthetic fibre. It will drop layer by layer, stage by stage, with help of the oscillating brush, until we reach a point where the sand sits to the tip of the fibre. This results in a surface that's great for play, will drain naturally, and satisfies all health and safety criteria.
We're 6 weeks on now from rejuvenation. We've had some dreadful weather through December and into January. We've had 9 inches of snow and lots of rain, but I'm pleased to say that we've managed to play a full fixture list. We've had no fixtures cancelled at all. The pitch, as you can see now, is much softer than it was. We haven't got any of those contaminations. It's clear sand, and whenever we have water it goes through, almost how it did when we originally had it 9 years ago.